The Beauty of Old Cartoons. Why We Love These Animated Stories from the Past by Ben Ross. Classic cartoons are something beloved by many, with many of their characters becoming famous worldwide. So what makes them so loved and rewatchable? Let's see why. Animation has always been a method of storytelling loved by many. It's something new and different, and looks unlike anything else you could see in the real world. This form has come a long way in the last 100 years or so. It was only 93 years ago that Steamboat Willie came out and popularized sound cartoons, and look how far we've come since. Now a lot of animation is computer generated, and with some of the technology that companies like Pixar uses, it's getting harder to distinguish animation from real life. So with that, I'd like to take a bit of a step back in time and focus on the cartoons from way back when. There's something about these old cartoons that people just love to watch.
Oh, He-Man, how you vex me!
I mean, why else would they still run them on TV decades after they've already aired? Why do people still enjoy watching shows like Tom and Jerry or The Jetsons all these years later when newer, more up-to-date shows exist now? As someone who grew up watching old cartoons and still does to this day, there's so much to like about them. Simple storytelling. One of the draws of these classic cartoons is their simplicity. Whether it's Mickey Mouse trying to win back Minnie or Wile E. Coyote trying to catch the Roadrunner, the plots of these animated stories are always short and sweet. It allows anyone of any age to feel comfortable watching them.
Be quiet. I'm hunting rabbits.
We don't need a fleshed out backstory as to why Elmer Fudd wants to hunt down Bugs Bunny so badly. All we need to know is that Elmer wants to kill Bugs and Bugs is too smart for him. A lot of these stories are shorts too, meaning they're only about 7 or 8 minutes long. And as for the longer shows like Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, or Johnny Quest, their runtime is roughly 20 to 25 minutes, which isn't too long for television. Because they're short, these cartoons become easily digestible and instantly rewatchable. Another great reason, they're cartoons. These aren't real people. In an animated world, pain is meaningless. All pain is temporary, and a gunshot or a punch in the face can be shaken off in a matter of seconds. We can watch Tom the Cat take a baseball bat to the head and know that he's going to be okay in the end. That's what makes these shows so great.
Look behind you.
Everything is animated and fun and colorful with no worry of pain or real-world problems. Just talking animals and slapstick humor. It's escapism, as most media is, and it's really fun to watch. A piece of history.
Good old Scooby!
Now, believe me, I love the shows I grew up on, but the cartoons from way back in the mid-20th century are just different. It's like watching a part of history. I've always been interested in watching them as it reflects on the time period it came out. And besides a few exceptions, it's a fascinating peek behind the historical curtain. You get to see how far animators have come since the days of black and white cartoons, or when everything had to be hand-drawn on cells. Enjoy watching the original Felix the Cat cartoons from the 1920s? Those were before most cartoons had sound. Or the aforementioned introduction to Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie? That was the first popular sound cartoon. Watching classic cartoons feels like you're watching something old, something antique that has a novelty to it. Maybe it's just me, but watching cartoons or television shows from a different time period makes me feel a sense of wonder, like I'm stepping into a museum. It's always fascinating to think that these cartoons were considered cutting edge back in the day. All that with humor that still makes people laugh after all these years. The classic cartoons of the 20th century transcend time and are still effective at comedy.
Well, at least you left me the olive.
The power of nostalgia. The real reason, however, why we still watch these decades-old cartoons from the past is because of one thing: nostalgia. Whether you're a part of the boomer generation and grew up watching them as they came out, or you're a part of Gen Z and watch the reruns late at night, almost everyone knows these cartoons and a lot of people have an emotional attachment to them. It makes sense, after all, since some channels like Cartoon Network have shown them for years and still do so every night. There's a channel specifically for Hanna-Barbera cartoons and the works of Chuck Jones, Boomerang.
Hooray for Astro! I knew he'd do it!
These classic shows can be found on DVDs or VCRs if you even have a player, or even on streaming platforms. They're pretty much everywhere. And that's part of what makes them so appealing. Everyone knows these cartoons. They're widespread. I have many fond memories of being a kid and waking up early on sick days to watch old Looney Tunes cartoons because I couldn't sleep. Or I remember going to my aunt's house and spending the night watching reruns of the Flintstones and the Smurfs on TV.
Go! Pretty good cleanup job if I do say so myself.
Those are the kind of memories that make me look back at these old shows and feel good. It's a sense of comfort, really. And I know people everywhere have this sense of nostalgia for these cartoons. Watching them now harkens back to a time when things were good, everything felt simpler. You might remember watching the silly slapstick fun of Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry when you were younger. Or maybe you're a Disney superfan and love to watch the old cartoons with Mickey, Goofy, Donald Duck, and friends.
Oh, those silly frogs are getting in the way.
Maybe you're a fan of mystery and love to watch Scooby-Doo and the gang solve mysteries. Or you just like some good old adventure and like Popeye fighting for olive oil on Popeye the Sailor. Regardless of whatever cartoon you like, watching them brings back a sense of pleasure and joy. They're simple, good-hearted fun, and what's wrong with having a little bit of that in our lives?
When you start that wonderful, relaxing humdrum of that good old monotonous week, where you rest up for your day of rest.